TK, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me today. Really delighted to be talking to you. I wondered if we could get into it, and I've got a couple of questions I want to ask you. The first one is, I wonder if you could just give me an overview of the BYP network and the challenges that you support.
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone, I'm Kike Onumande-Ogoro. As Paul mentioned, I run a company called BYP Network, and it's all about changing the Black narrative. And we do this by advancing the careers of Black professionals through networking, job opportunities, connections, mentorship, and also events such as like our leadership conference, which is all about trying to get more Black leaders. So in organizations, in communities, civically, whatever that looks like. And we've been around for about 8 years now, and it started from my own journey and my own experiences. I noticed a lack of Black talent when I was in investment banking, and I just felt like I didn't belong. So I believe that other Black professionals also felt the same way. And then just during my experiences of talking to others in a similar background to me or similar field, they also felt the same. And so BYP Network was first this funnel of let's find each other as Black people, Black professionals, Black students, so that we can learn from one another, we can support each other. And if there's a job, we can refer each other. So it was almost like, let's get a network together so that we can advance our careers in the world of work and do it with like an armor, because we have each other to support each other. And then through that, companies also started to get involved. They saw what BYP Network was doing. They were seeing the events that we were hosting, and they were hearing about us from their employees. And so they started to partner with us so that they can tap into our talent pool of Black professionals. But the way we do it is we make sure that they are advocating for themselves to Black professionals. So it's almost like, why should I as a Black professional work for you? Tell me about your internal culture. Tell me about the opportunities. Can I get promoted? What's your Black senior representation like? What are you doing to improve it? So they get this opportunity to kind of ask the right questions and learn more about the companies before they go forward and apply for jobs. And that's so important, as employer branding is important for Black professionals. I need to know who you are and why I should work for you. And so that's why we do a lot on the employer branding space as well. And so given our years of just learning and talking to our members and our partners, we developed a platform called Javelin, which is an AI tool that has all our events, all our content, all the job opportunities on it. And our members can essentially go on it and get matched based on their CV and their experiences.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much for taking me through that, and incredible that you kind of got that 8 years of experience under your belt, and a lot has happened in that 8 years. I wondered if you could just give me a sense of what are some of the kind of trends that you're seeing 8 years on, some of the things that your clients are talking to you about, some of the challenges that they're facing right now around the acquisition, I guess, of Black talent.
Yeah, great question. I'd say if I look at the 8 years journey, and when we first started, those companies that were focused on DEI were focused on DEI. They cared from the get-go. They were doing things internally, and they wanted to work with BYP Network to advance what they were doing. And it was something that they actually truly cared about deeply. And then we had that 2020 George Floyd murder, and then suddenly loads of companies came out of nowhere, trying to invest in that area, hire D&I managers, chief diversity officers, commit funds and say we're going to empower our Black employees or hire more Black talent or do more for the Black community. And it was this kind of wave, a huge wave. And I call it a wave because we are seeing the wave come to an end, right? We're seeing the wave kind of peter out into what it maybe was before, before George Floyd, or maybe even a bit worse than before George Floyd. And that's the trend. The trend is the fact that when it was kind of all eyes on you in terms of how you're doing some Black talent and DEI, suddenly it was like, we're committing funds, we're going to do more. But suddenly, as soon as it's no longer, the main topic, the funds got withdrawn, D&I managers got let go, chief diversity officers are at all-time decline, and Black talent are exiting the world of work. And the numbers are being reversed. So people are not hitting the targets that they set back in 2020. And this is very negative, right? And we speak about this network, even at our most recent leadership conference, we spoke about it to those in the room, like what they can still do internally if they feel their organization no longer cares. or if they're in D&I and they feel like they're the only ones in D&I, there's no budget now, there's no support, what they can do. Because ultimately, for the individual, their mental health matters. And that's what's key. And they need to kind of assess the situation. Is this the right employer for me now? There are still employers that do care. We work with a good amount of employers still. But I think if you're in an organization that was very much tick boxing, you do need to kind of look at other options. So
that kind of leads me on. Thank you for that. And I much of what you've said there kind of completely resonates with me. Given the kind of environment that we're operating in, particularly in the US, where we've obviously got we've got an election coming up in November, we've got a really difficult landscape that many organisations are facing around DEI and the backlash against DEI. So we've kind of got that happening in the US. How do organisations need to refocus in on this and I guess recommit? Because some great work has happened in the last 3 to 4 years following George Floyd's murder, but as you say, it does feel like it's petered out a bit. So what do organisations need to do to kind of recommit and refocus their efforts?
Yeah, great question. I think if we look at the US, right, some of it has become legislature. So it's become a situation where they technically can't actually say we're here for black talent, or can't be seen to kind of be focusing on one group versus another. So for those in that position, I'd say it's about the wording, the terminology. You're putting kind of we care about inclusion, we care about diversity. Putting those words out there without maybe having to say the words black or Asian or whatever it looks like, right? But still knowing that you're committed to it as an organization and you're still looking at your data and your stats internally. I think that's super important. I think if we move back here to the UK, definitely some of that USA, energy has obviously moved over here. There's a lot of global companies, firstly, and a lot of global, people officers or DI officers. So whatever they kind of do there, they tend to do over here. I really think for organizations, it's about going back to that drawing board, going back to that strategy that they created in 2020, which many of them did, being honest with themselves in terms of what they have and haven't hit. Are they close to it in terms of the statistics? Are those still the statistics they are trying to aim for, right? And what's changed between then and now? Have they got the employee sentiment? Have they kind of, surveyed their employees to kind of see the sentiment in general, where they can improve as an employer? I'm a big believer of Chatham House rules conversations. Just having conversations, different groups, let them talk it out, let them speak about their experiences, what can be improved, and letting them know they're listened to. And also that trajectory. A lot of the companies, because they haven't been able to hire much because of the actual climate, the recession, no one called a recession. They had to focus on internal, especially post the kind of, redundancies. Those that are still in the organization, the focus needs to be on retention. And so to retain, they need to really focus on those individuals and their path to growth, their promotional path, where they need to improve on and what the company can do. So I guess what I'm saying is that they need to still focus on the internal individuals, but the tide does change and it is changing now. And so they need to make sure they've got that plan ready to execute when they can.
I'm a big believer in the whole thing about sharing, and your point around Chatham House rules is so important. I've over the last 3 or 4 years, I've learned an awful lot from just talking to other organisations through networks and kind of just through my own peer network. And I think it is an area where we all need to come together, organisations, charities, partnerships, to do the right thing. So I totally agree with that. Final question. We are obviously delighted that you have joined the AMS D&I Alliance. What do you see as the opportunities in the Alliance for BYP Network?
I think the opportunities are with just all the partners, right? It's so exciting to have met them. I've met so many of them already. Learn what they're doing, learn how we can improve in those areas too, right? Whether it's disability, veterans, LGBTQ+. So that sharing knowledge between ourselves and also being able to refer each other. I had a client recently say, do you work with any BI companies in other spaces, right? And I'm just like, I'm part of an alliance. And so that's amazing that we have like this community of individuals in the D&I space that were all advocating for the same thing, and now we can actually help make our partners better. We now can, direct them better. So I think it's super exciting, and I'm just excited to see where this goes. And I'm looking forward to our roadshow that's coming up soon.
Well, as I say, we're really excited to have you in the network, and very excited for the roadshows that we've got starting this week and running over the next couple of weeks. Kike, thank you so much for joining us today. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Paul.